what does manhood mean to you?
So when I think of manhood, I think of immediately the image of my stepdad appears. My stepdad came into my life when I was 5 years old. And so one thing I've always noticed about him is that he handled his responsibility. So for me, manhood simply means handling responsibility. That's responsibility to provide for your family, to protect your family, to serve, right? You serve your family, serve your community, and I think everything else kind of can fall in those three buckets, so to speak, right?
Hi, and welcome to another edition of King Crush Thursday, the series where we highlight and uplift Black men, because frankly, not too many people are doing it. My name is Val Gay, and I'm super excited about this brother today. Let's see. He's a native of Baltimore, Maryland. He holds a baccalaureate degree in electrical engineering and a doctorate degree in engineering. He and his wife started in 2012 a company that focuses on education and engagement around STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And he's a father of two. His name is Dr. Dontae Ryan. Hi, Dr. Dontae. How are you?
Good evening. How about yourself? How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I am glad you're here because you are adding another, wedge in the door of opening up, or window to open up the very narrow, myopic narrative centered around Black men. And I'm so grateful because we know Black men are myriad, and there are more of you who are holding it down. Maybe not too many of you that hold doctorate degrees in engineering, but the content of your character around caring for community, caring for your family, being there, and that you are there, that you're not absent, that you're not invisible, you are here. And so I'm so grateful because ultimately our goal is to have a young king who may or may not have positive Black male role models to go to the same repository, seeing the same 6 questions answered by well over 150 positive and successful Black men, and perhaps find guidance there. And then for the rest of us who are neither male or even Black, for us to be able to look at this repository and hopefully have our minds expanded so that ultimately you can just be you in society. And so I'm so glad that you're here to contribute. And I want to get started with the first question, which is, what does manhood mean to you?
So when I think of manhood, I think of immediately the image of my stepdad appears. My stepdad came into my life when I was 5 years old. And so one thing I've always noticed about him is that he handled his responsibility. I never once seen him complain, make excuses, and he handled his responsibility. And so for me, manhood simply means handling responsibility. That's responsibility to provide for your family, to protect your family, to serve, right? You serve your family, serve your community, and I think everything else kind of can fall in those three buckets, so to speak, right? And so that's what I think of when I think of manhood. And, like I said, for my stepdad, he is that image for me, and that's what I try to live up to.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So Dr. Dontae, who and or what is important to you?
Yeah, so of course, my family. I've been fortunate enough, and I say this all the time, I was fortunate enough to be raised in a family of some amazing people. starting off with my mom. My mom was absolutely amazing. Now, she didn't go to college or anything like that, but my mom worked very hard. So for us, for me and my sister, she set an example of what it means to work hard. My mom always talks about how, she's been working since she was like 14 or 15 and she never stopped, right? Or she just recently stopped when she retired. And so family is very important. I talked about my stepdad, who was in my life when I was 5. My dad was actually incarcerated from the time I was 2 up until I was like 16. But my dad, even being incarcerated, my dad was extremely intelligent. He would drop some amazing jewels. My grandma, both of my grandmothers, my mom's mom as well as my dad's mom. I always like to shout out my dad's mom because she, every Sunday, we would drive to go see my dad when he was incarcerated. And because of that, I've always had a really great relationship with my dad. And of course, now starting off with my family, my wife, my son, my daughter, right? My sisters, my nephew, right? I mean, my niece. And so, his family is very important to me, right? And I feel as though as a man, when we go back to manhood, I feel as though if I'm taking care of and being responsible to my family, that starts to trickle down to my community, right? And so, setting an example for my son, right? What it is to, of course, take care of your family, but also give back to your community, right? Modeling that for my children and for my nephew and so forth. So, family is by far the most important thing to me. Of course, my community is very important. One of the reasons why I've never left Baltimore, I've always had this dream that I would give back to Baltimore in some amazing ways that, and for me, it was always through academics because I've always been academically, pretty sharp. And so I knew that I was going to always be able to give back in that form of fashion. I've been tutoring since I was probably 11 or 12. And so, just kind of starting a tutoring company that really helps students get to their or help them accomplish some successes with them has always been, something that I knew I was going to give in that form of fashion. I wasn't sure exactly what that looked like when I was younger, but I knew, I was always going to kind of leverage that. So, my family, my community is very important. And just, of course, now that I'm getting older, my health, so I mean, I can't provide for my family. I can't help my community if I'm not healthy. Right. And so now, health is extremely important. And of course, all of this is, possible through, having strong spirituality, right? And being, understanding that, I'm just all this would not be possible without the higher being, right? Giving me the ability to do a lot of things that my family and we've been able to do. And so, I would say those things are important. And as a result, it just allows us to, and I say us because, my wife and I, we're a team. So everything that we do is together, right? And so it just allows us to, do what we can, play a small part in helping families and students in Baltimore through our company.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's really beautiful. That's awesome. So, Dr. Dontae, how do you want us to see you?
Well, hopefully, I think how I want others to see me is just, recognizing them, and I apologize. But just, saying that, I'm just someone that loves to help people, honestly. And, that's been the mission of our company. And even before we even started a company, that's something that my wife and I always done. We've always helped other people. And like I said, I've just kind of utilized what I was good at, which was academics. So I was always good at tutoring. So I literally, that's what I feel as though my talent is, and that's what my gift is. So, we utilize that. But hopefully when people look at me, they look at someone who really cares about his community, that wants to give back to his community. And I just do it in the way that works well for me, right? Other people give back to their communities, other aspects. That's not my strength. I just cater to my strength in terms of giving back. So hopefully, that's when someone sees me, that's what they will say. And of course, someone who's, dedicated to his family. So those two things are probably the most important for me when people see me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Thank you. So what is your epic dream?
Wow. So you know what, for me, one of the things that is by far the the biggest dream for me is that when I look back, I notice that I was able to help my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, help them achieve their dreams, right? You know, that they always looked at me as a person that they were able to rely upon to help them get to that next level, wherever they want to go. And then after that, you know, I just had this vision that, you know, when I'm actually, I'll preface it with this. My grandma, she's 93. And she was a school teacher for 37 years, I believe, in Baltimore City. And then she also taught in like a few other counties in New Jersey and Maryland. But one of the cool things about my grandma is that her students, when they see her, they absolutely love her, which tells me that she has, you know, left an impact and an impression on her students. And so for me, that's really my dream, is that hopefully when I'm 93 years old, you know, the students that I've worked with, that they will remember me as someone who has left an impact on their life, on a positive impact on their life. You know, and I think that's kind of like my biggest dream, just being able to have an impact with so many students and families, you know, and realizing that my presence in their life had a positive impact.
That's really wonderful. That's awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. So you've been answering question 5 all along implicitly, but I'm going to ask you explicitly. Dr. Dontae Ryan, who are you?
Yeah. You know, so, you know, anytime someone asks me that question, it's always really tough. You know, I like to think that, you know, I'm a man that really wants to give back and have a positive impact on people's lives that come across, you know, that I come across. You know, I am a family man. You know, like I said, I love my family immensely. You know, and of course, my friends are an extension of that. So, you know, family and friends are an extension. You know, my friends are an extension of my family. And hopefully, you know, like I said, who am I will ultimately just be, hey, I'm a family man that loves to give back, to serve, and help others. That's who I am. And everything else after that is honestly is a product of that, you know. So whether it's, you know, through my profession, whether it's through my social circles, or anything like that, hopefully everyone will say that's who Dontae is. He's someone who cares, and because he cares, he always gives back. He, you know, and you can see it in my actions and in, you know, things that I say and so forth.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. So here we are already at question 6, which is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or you wanted me to ask you that I didn't? In other words, what did I miss?
You know, I don't think you really missed anything. You know, if there was anything that I wanted people to, you know, is that one, perhaps, you know, someone that might see this video, you know, they might feel like they might be in a tough spot or anything like that. And one of the things I always like to leave, and this is what I always say to my students, is just understand that day to day, month to month, week to week, whatever it may be, there's only 2 things that we can, well, really 3 things that we can control on a daily basis. 1 is our attitude. 2 is our effort. 3 is our energy, right? And so no matter what happens to us, right, good, bad, indifferent, you know, our attitude, our effort, and our energy is what's going to ultimately be how we face the consequence, you know. And so I always want to encourage people to make sure that, you know, whatever the situation may be, you know, approach it with a, you know, good attitude, good effort, good energy, and it will always work out. You know, and I'm telling you, I mean, based on some personal experience I've had, you know, sometimes things wasn't that great, but, you know, I like to think that my attitude and effort was unwavering. And because of that, you know, I was able to bounce back with no problem. The second thing is I do want to say that I'm not sure how spiritual people are, but, you know, for me, it's a biblical scripture. And I'm pretty sure if we was to go into any other religious text, it would have something similar. I'm just not very familiar with those. But at least as far as the biblical, it's Galatians 6:9. And it says, let us not grow weary in doing well, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not faint, or if we do not give up. And so that to me is directly related to what I was talking about regarding our attitude and our effort and our energy, at the end of the day, we'll just keep sowing that good seed. Eventually, you're going to reap a great harvest, even more plentiful than what you even thought when you were sowing that seed. And then, of course, the last thing, if I may, for those of you that, regarding your children, your nephews, your grandchildren, if you need any type of academic support, the Ryan Institute, that is the name of our company. Learn with Ryan is our website. It is our handle on Instagram, as well as TikTok. And then, of course, we have on Facebook, it's the Ryan Institute. So feel free to reach out. Reaching out and asking questions is free. We do not charge people when they ask us questions whatsoever, right? And the reason why I say that is because sometimes, parents just want to be able to identify a resource or maybe a strategy to kind of help them push their child. And so because of that, I always tell, please reach out to us. We love helping parents kind of figure this thing out when it comes to their academics. For our college students or our high school students going to college, we like to help them try to figure it out, help them remove that emotion out of making that decision and going to college. So feel free to reach out to us, ask questions. We'll do our best to either answer them ourselves or at least help you find the right answer or find the right resource so that you can get the right answer. And I think that was all, Matt. Like I said, I think you did a great job answering the questions. Really had me thinking a little bit because, we kind of think, honestly, as a man, we kind of take that for granted. Like, what is manhood? We go out daily, through our days, and sometimes we might actually forget. And I like to think that, I think many of us try to model what we want other men, to do, whether it's our sons, our nephews, or any other men that young boys that we might come across, that we might mentor and things of that nature. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much for all of it, especially, let's say, the free advice. Free. Take advantage.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing, and thank you so much for providing this opportunity for our community and anyone who wants to avail themselves of it is just really wonderful. I mean, you said so many nuggets, especially in the last question. I mean, all throughout the entire interview. I do believe in the power of perseverance. You have to have, I think, a certain amount of positivity embedded in that, right? So it's your perspective, like you said. I also believe that, I saw somewhere that being positive is a badge of courage, right? Because it's just too easy to be negative, especially in this environment, but to be courageous is to be hopeful, right? To be hopeful, to move forward. And then finally, I'll say, I heard a philosopher say something like, or I read his words, say something like, I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 9% of how I respond.
How we respond. That's right. That is it right there.
I believe that with all of my being, I'm so grateful for that because we all could stop giving at any moment the things that happen to us in our lives, stop and throw our hands up and give up and all of that, or not, and I'm so grateful. It's the or not, what comes after the or not is what is a powerful thing that people just don't realize. And so I'm hoping that there was somebody who was perhaps thinking, oh, I'm done with that. Go back one more time, go back, just keep going back. You never know what's going to happen. I am convinced that I'm almost positive. I just met Dr. Dontae a few minutes ago, but I am positive that there were multiple times before he got to his doctorate that he wanted to give,
Absolutely.
Keep pressing, little by little, it'll pay off. And so I honor you, my king. I pray that
thank you.
Absolutely. And I pray that your epic dream comes true. I pray that you are overflowing with inquiries from community members because people want to know, like, how can I get my kids to college? How can I have them be thinking like an engineer? How can I get them into this thing? What is this thing, STEM or STEAM again? What is that? I'm just hoping that you really blow up with this because our community needs more of it. We need more brothers like you. And so I'm just so grateful that you were with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And stay right there because I want to thank the audience for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And if there is a brother in your community that you want to see highlighted and you want to hear from in this forum, please click the link below or in my bio, fill out the nomination form. We'll take it from there. That's exactly how we got Dr. Dontae Ryan today. And so I'm so grateful that now we all get to know about him because somebody thought, people need to hear from Dontae. And so there's someone in your life. They may be someone who holds a baccalaureate degree in electrical engineering and a doctorate degree in engineering or not, or not. We are really interested in the content of the brothers' characters, and that are they providing for their families? How are they impacting the people first around them and then the broader world, right? Because it starts with where we're standing right there. And so those are the positive, successful brothers. That's how I define success that we really want to hear from. And so please stay tuned next week for yet another amazing king. And please, in the meantime, please remember to spread love and have a great day. Thank you so much. And Dr. Dontae, thank you so much. That was really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.